The carnivore diet. Should you do it? Have you heard of it? I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and I'll share my thoughts about the carnivore diet today. So many people ask me about the carnivore diet, and I'm a little bit torn, I have to say, about the carnivore diet. Meaning, there seems to be some benefits, clearly, but there are a lot of unknowns. So I was introduced to the carnivore diet by several influencers on YouTube. You might have heard of them. Ken Berry, Sean Baker, Bart Kay, some very vocal folks, some of them. What do we really know about the carnivore diet, and how would you think critically and scientifically about it? Some people think back to the ancestral way of eating and claim that humans were designed to eat this way without vegetables. And I'm not really compelled to write home with that level of information. I need more than that. It may be that that's true, but it could be that we evolved to different nutrients today, for example, that we need that might not have been provided in the past, different infections, etc. So the way I look at any kind of diet is, does it provide all of the nutrients that we think we need today? And I say I think we need, because even new vitamins are being discovered and having new uses. So we use our best judgment. And I think the carnivore diet, which again is a animal-based food, not having really any vegetables, can fulfill the need for all of the essential nutrients. And one of the things I was able to do was to ask people in the carnivore world to put together information about this approach. And I asked Amber O'Hearn to write a paper on can a carnivore diet provide all the essential nutrients? And she wrote this paper. It was published in the Current Opinions in Endocrinology and Diabetes. It's a review article. You might want to check that out, called Can a Carnivore Diet Provide All Essential Nutrients by Amber O'Hearn. It's a scholarly view of what nutrients may or may be required and may or may be missing. Of course, the classic comparison is that animals that are true carnivores really just eat other animals, and so for those mammals, there really is everything you need in other animals. Very rare for a dog or a cat to want to eat grass, for example. And when I look at the internal anatomy of different animals, different mammals, it's clear to me that the gastrointestinal tract of a human is more like that of a carnivore than of an herbivore. And actually there's a great video that I learned a lot from by a gentleman named Barry Groves. And I would urge you to check out this video. It is a video called Homo Carnivorous. And in this video, he makes the argument that humans should be carnivores. Now, I watched the video, and the most important part, I think, which is that internal anatomy, the gastrointestinal tract, is in from 7 minutes 43 to 14 minutes 48 seconds in showing the comparative absorption of nutrients among different mammals. And it was really striking. It was and shocking to me. I've seen doctors talk about how cows can eat grass, so humans can too. Well, the internal anatomy of cows it's totally different than humans, and even then, the gorillas, our ancestors, eat plants. Therefore, humans should. No, the internal anatomy of a gorilla is very different than a human. So check out the comparative absorption and the different internal anatomy. This Homo carnivorous starts the way I start, is what do people need in terms of nutrition. And so what we eat is different than what we absorb, or what an animal eats is different than what it absorbs. And in there, he will show you that actually the bacteria inside an herbivore turn the grass and the grain into short-chain fatty acids. And the protein that an animal, a ruminant animal gets, is actually the bacteria itself is the protein. There's this symbiosis that the argument he makes across all mammals is that mammals absorb about a 70% fat diet. Absorb it because the bacteria change what's eaten into the short-chain fatty acids, and what is absorbed is actually fat. Now, why is this important in a talk about carnivores? Well, the carnivores that he portrayed there, the lions and all, eat basically the fatty meats of the other animals and have about a 70% fat diet of all their calories. Therefore, he argues that humans should eat that too. Now, that's a stretch, it's a leap, but the argument is pretty interesting, and the novelty that I've really never seen elsewhere, although if you dig into the ruminant agriculture papers, they acknowledge that there's this incredible symbiosis between what we call the microbiome, the gut microbiome, where the bacteria of these herbivores turn what they're eating, which is very protein deficient actually, into the short-chain fatty acids, and the animal absorbs the protein of the bacteria. Fascinating video, and makes me think toward that idea that a human perhaps should be carnivore, or at least opens my eyes to the possibility. I'm curious about it for sure. And a couple of my patients actually have addressed their medical concerns by cutting out vegetables and by doing carnivore type diets. So in the short run, I think there's clear examples of how a carnivore diet can be healing, actually. And there was a survey done by the Harvard nutrition group, Dr. David Ludwig and Belinda Lennertz, and they surveyed actually a social media group of folks who were doing a carnivore type diet. And it's a publication in Current Developments in Nutrition, and they had about 2,000 respondents who said they were doing carnivore diets, and many of them put in their health information and blood tests, and so there is at least some social media publications about what people say they're doing, and no, that's not sufficient to sign off on it. It's not enrolling people into randomized trials, and the selection bias of people who do well generally join these groups, kind of like the people who go back to high school reunions are generally doing well, and so no, it doesn't tell the whole story. It's really important for prospective research to be done on any type of diet, including the carnivore diet, and I haven't seen that done. I know there was some sort of grassroots attempt to get these research studies going. I'm not sure of an update on that, but I'm curious and cautious about, as Amber O'Hearn said in her paper, that there might be a few nutrients of concern. For example, calcium, if you don't eat bones. There are a lot of the animals that are carnivores do eat bones, or you might get that from fish. So there, like any extreme diet, you want to follow a reasonable teacher who has done it a while and can tell you the possible pitfalls. If you're going to do a vegetarian or vegan diet, you want to make sure you know about the need for vitamin B12, for example. Vitamin B12 is really an animal-sourced nutrient. So, but there's really not anything in the plant kingdom, plant world, that isn't available in the animal-sourced nutrition. Yes, the amounts of certain things are different, like vitamin C is the one everyone talks about, but cultures that were carnivorous, like the Inuit, they didn't have scurvy as a problem, which is the vitamin C deficiency. So either there's enough vitamin C in the way they were eating the food, or it's not needed as much if you don't have a glucose-based metabolism. That's one current level of thinking. So the carnivore diet, I think it's a mixed bag. There are possible benefits from it, especially if you're sensitive to the things that are in vegetable matter. However, we're a little bit worried about getting all of the nutrients you need for a long period of time, just because it's often a period of years before a nutrient deficiency, a minor one, will become apparent. But I'm open. I think new science needs to be done. In the meantime, if you're going to do this, you do it under the direction of someone who's been teaching lots of people, and you want, like anything, you want to measure everything that doctors typically measure to know that you're in good health. Although I'm finding that there may be a new normal of the blood levels, so that you don't want to be forced into treatments of blood levels, because it just seems like it's different. So for example, if you're in a keto carnivore diet, you might have ketones in your blood. It's not abnormal. That's normal for someone who doesn't eat carbohydrate. But if you compare it to a lab value of all of those people who eat carbohydrates, it will look abnormal. It'll be ticked as abnormal because ketones in the blood isn't typically seen in those who eat carbohydrate. And our laboratory values are from people who eat carbohydrates, just because most people do. Doesn't mean it's optimal, but it is what is most commonly seen. So I guess I give it maybe a keto stamp of approval, maybe not. Kind of holding out on that. So you want to go into this eyes wide open. I'm not, against something that seems reasonable, and we just don't have long-term data yet. I'm not a fear-mongerer about the idea that since we don't know, it must be bad. A lot of people take that position, which I think is lacking of curiosity and maybe a little bit smug, which is the term where you're so assured of what you know that you dismiss the other possibilities. So eyes wide open on this one, and it may actually turn out to be good. I don't know. Hope that's helpful. If you like the video, please like, share, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out, and subscribe to future videos. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.